Hi, this is D.A. Stocksheimer, and this is another edition of, I guess you call it the Spectre. That's the brand, so whatever you want to call it. The logo, the marketing that's behind this juggernaut of just kind of random thoughts and movie reviews and TV reviews, just of old obscure TV shows you've never fucking heard of or no one's heard of in a long time, and just and the other miscellaneous things that I do with this, and trying to cover topics of some interest. I don't really know what to discuss anymore, because I'm so, like, with people in politics and stuff like that, because I don't like to go into like issue oriented topics so much, because people are obviously very polarized right now, and I'm one of those people. I'm in kind of that nebulous. I absolutely despise Donald Trump, of course, but some of the real extreme, crazy leftist people are, I'm not too cozy there, and putting up my feet in that living room, so it's sort of, I don't really know. I feel like sort of a man without a country of sorts. I don't really quite get it. I'm just sort of a chill person. I'd like to solve things in kind of a rational, civil manner, but we sort of live in a time right now where, because Trump's president, it's sort of a window in which people, I think, feel they can just lay their cards on the table. Like, if you were someone who was xenophobic and maybe racist, or at least, had your attitudes towards, you had a basic idea of what another ethnic group is like, and what their value is in society, or lack thereof. And those people, of course, have always existed. And when Trump became elected president, they sort of just basically, they kind of laid out their cards. They could wear their racism on their sleeve. And so with that, people who oppose Trump, much like myself, decided to kind of, it got, the identity politics were always there, these terms are always there, but they just became more prevalent. And while I'm not a big fan of them, I can see why they did sort of, become sort of household terms, things like that. They've just become common. And people, I don't think they really have a real understanding of them. Really I do either. Whatever, involves, whether it's transgender people, whether it's, with regard to white privilege or whatever it is. I've said a lot of shit about that. I am not a fan of the term. I think, I've been over it. It's not that, of course, I think racism exists, and I'm not like someone who's like, oh no, I'm not oblivious to all these things. It's just a term that I don't feel is really understood or been well defined or whatever. So it's just something that immediately I sort of took pause when I first started hearing that thrown about. But so people basically, they have their, they've said, look, this is where we're at. We fucking don't like Donald Trump, and he's a racist piece of shit. And people who support Donald Trump go, no, he's not racist, because he had Omarosa in the White House, even though he fired her. And he does, it's not like he hasn't worked with black people. He works with rich, celebrities and like people like that. I don't think Donald Trump is in his wheelhouse or in his comfort zone when he's in a room full of black people that he doesn't know. I don't think he's a cat like him who's a 70-year-old, 70 whatever, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, I don't know how was early 70s, billionaire who never worked a hard day's work in his fucking life, and he's not doing it now in the White Houses, that's for sure. And, you know, you're around a bunch of people that, you know, like, just regular working people. I don't know how regular working people voted for him, or much less, there's women that voted for him, there's other minorities that voted for him. People of color voted for him, if that's an acceptable term. People of other ethnicities voted for him. And the thing is, you can't really understand politics in America simply by like, well, he's a racist guy, so he apparently doesn't like Mexicans and blacks or anybody else, so he's, you know, obviously no blacks or Mexicans or women, because he's terrible to women. I mean, holy shit, he said he grabs pussies because he can, and everybody, you know, he's totally cool with it, and didn't really apologize for it. So they, people kind of have the notion that, hey, well, of course, most women, most black people, most Hispanics, of course, didn't vote for Donald Trump. However, there were ones that did. Enough of them. And I don't, so it's pretty mind-boggling to sort of like the thought process. Like if I was, it's people. I mean, they didn't like Obama. I mean, people didn't dislike Obama because he was black. A lot of time, in a lot of cases, there was just sort of this general, like, they created a campaign of distrust for Obama, and part of it was the whole birther thing about his birth certificate, and that dumpster fire was lit by Donald Trump, for the most part, and Roger Stone. He was part of the impetus to that. But he lit that on fire, and he threw gas on it for 2 fucking years. Said he was going to have private investigators go to Hawaii and all that bullshit, you know, and then he eventually, and that culminated him into running for president, and now he's our president. So, and he doesn't represent our country, but the people who vote really don't represent our country, because I think a lot of them who actually vote, the people who are really downtrodden, who have given up completely, aren't likely to be concerned about going to a voting booth, because they've lost faith in a country that essentially forgot about them. So why the fuck would they vote? I mean, you're especially going to vote for Donald Trump, who literally, how many homeless people has he stepped over? It's not, we're not talking about like a guy most people can identify. Now, people who like are doing okay, you know, they have a pretty good job, but they're not super fucking bright, and they're making okay money, and they think they're going to get richer under the Trump administration, and they own guns. They tend to be racist, and I'm not stereotyping, but sorry, they tend to be racist. They tend to be not like the Ku Klux Klan racist, but they're people, they feel like everything's a fucking threat to them. So they like guns. They see a practicality for it, even though it's a hobby. And they feel like everything else outside of their beliefs and their realm of thought is an existential threat to them. So Trump played on that heavily. Everybody else was an existential threat to him, because for Donald Trump, I think he thinks everything is an existential threat to him. Everyone is potentially a threat, even his own family members, for the most part. I think he was threatened by his wives in some way, that they were going to take his money or whatever, you know, he was going to, something. I mean, they were after, basically, he's someone who has something that people are after, which are, you know, money and assets, and he feels everyone has an ulterior motive, because he himself always has an ulterior motive. He has ulterior motives for his ulterior motives. I mean, that's how fucked up Donald Trump is. And so, I mean, I didn't mean to actually turn this into a whole Donald Trump rant video, of course, but I think it's just a kind of, I think he's definitely the catalyst for a lot of what's going on now. And with people, and just they're really digging their heels into the ground, and I'm glad people are digging their heels in the ground and sticking up for what they believe in, even though I don't totally agree with the way some of them are going about it, and I don't agree with everything they're saying, but I am glad that people are sticking up for themselves. because there's not much else you can do with this shit going on. It's sort of like you can't give up. I mean, this last gasp of, I think it's almost like the last gasp of the old guard, of the old, just, they don't, they have been sort of trained, or they've been schooled in being the sort of politicians and that don't take responsibility for any big clusterfuck like what's going on down at the border with parents being separated from their children, and it's, you know, I mean, people talk about, like, Donald Trump, because he has really bad optics. It's not that he has bad optics. There's not something you can do about making him look good, other than if he changed somehow, which he won't. He's a terrible person. It's not about, the media isn't to blame for the reason Donald Trump looks bad. He just is bad. That's the problem. There's no distortion there between what actually he says and goes through a microphone or through his, you know, Twitter feed or whatever. Yes, I had to. Yes, this is Donald Trump tweeting something or whatever. Anyway, because usually people tweet on their phone. So I mean, I've never seen someone as a president, and I remember presidents since Jimmy Carter left office, and I was a little kid. I mean, I was like 6 or 7, but I can kind of remember that time. So I've never seen a president. I mean, Ronald Reagan was a phony. Was really phony, and he was a complete prop. But he was at least a good prop. He at least sort of, you know, you kind of like, wow, this guy fucking cares a little bit. You don't get that impression from Donald Trump. He doesn't give a shit. And I think that's why a lot of Republicans, they want a cold-hearted person who doesn't give a shit, who's going to tell people to, like, go. He's not going, as far as, like, because they're obsessed with this immigration policy business, and they think this is what's really, you know, killing this country, even though there's a bunch of other things that are having a direct effect on people's lives in this country that are hurting our lives more than immigration or whatever anything related to it. I mean, I mean, we're harmful to ourselves, and we make very poor decisions when it comes to, obviously, you know, the sort of people that we elect, clearly. But I just don't think that, I don't know. I can't even see past this. This is so bad. Like, I mean, I can't even. Like, what is after Donald Trump? Like, what the fuck is going to be left? I mean, this is just the first 2 fucking years. We're within the first 2 years of this shit, and look how bad it is. I mean, there's like, I mean, it's only going to be more. There's going to be more people stumbling out of the closet, more strippers and porn stars and playmates and models who he was fooling around with, who may or may not speak up. I mean, who knows how much they were paid off. And the way he goes about paying people off, too, is odd. Through an attorney, and then through some sort of dummy corporation they made up, and then he reimbursed him for the $130,000. I have no idea. And that was what her silence was worth, was $130,000, which is a nice chunk of change for the average American or porn star. But it's like, I mean, I don't even really give a shit about that. I don't care. I mean, none of the stuff that he does or says since he's been in office has remotely shocked me. And I don't think it's shocked I mean, it shouldn't shock anybody else. We all knew what a pompous ass he was, and if you didn't see complete chaos coming, I mean, or just all of this, you didn't see this happening, and people are starting to normalize it. You know, I hear those dumb bitches on The View talking about how nice Melania is, you know, and she's this aloof person with one expression, Okay, she married some complete degenerate piece of shit for money. Okay, so let's just when we're talking about these people, let's talk about it in terms of reality for once. Okay, instead of, I mean, the daytime talk shows and all these other people, they talk about these people in terms of like what they're doing. I mean, she's not there for any genuine reason whatsoever. She never planned on being first lady. She's not good at it. She's cold. She's distant. She's in a loveless fucking marriage with a guy that still screws around on her, even though no matter how old he gets. He was fucking around with some porn star when she was pregnant. So, you know, there's nothing good there. I mean, that's a toxic fucking family. So they're just, it's just, so I get tired of hearing like, oh, Melania's such a nice person. Fuck Melania Trump. What the fuck am I supposed to fucking care about her? Do I have to be nice to her now? Do you think they wouldn't be going on and on and on about Michelle Obama if she posed in some lesbo pictorial in a French softcore porn magazine, or and she did that when she had an expired work visa too. Melania posed in that magazine, and I don't care that she posed in some stupid magazine or anything like that. But they just sort of, it's the stuff that they seem to really just navigate around and they don't talk too much about. I mean, not that it needs to be brought up or anything like that, but if it were anybody else, it just seems it would be the never-ending story. It would just keep going on and on forever, and they go on and on about it if the previous first lady did it. So clearly, I don't know, you know, who owns the media. I mean, I kind of know who owns the media outlets in this country. I mean, it's all shit, but that's really my feeling on it. I still don't normalize the Trump presidency. I don't think Melania is a nice person. She seems cold and distant, and she's just someone who wanted to get out of her country and marry a rich American guy and hop on his dick and have a kid. So that would, you know, further. And that kid is ensured that if they do get a divorce, that she'll get more money. Okay, she's not stupid. She made sure she had a kid with him. It's very strategic. And he was on his last leg for having a kid when Barron. Who names their kid Barron? I mean, his name is Barron. That's like the lowest line of English nobility, but it also sounds like a Bond villain, like Baron Trump. Anyway. But yeah, that's my take on that. I know it's not anything, I didn't go over anything too specific, but yeah, I did. I sort of talked about how and why I feel about, you know, this particular president and what I think it's evolved into, which right now is we basically have more or less a dictator, because I don't feel like we have a president at all. I feel like it's just more, we have a dictator who does not answer to us. He doesn't answer to the press. He doesn't. He no matter how much he lies, he just keeps lying. Doesn't matter if it's true or if it's the evidence is right there on the table and stuff like that. He will still lie about it, because that's all he's ever done throughout his entire life is lie. That's how he got where he is, lying. He's defrauded investors over the years. He's lost millions and millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars of other people's money. He's refused to pay contractors. If we did the shit that he did, we would be sitting in fucking jail. I mean, he made the Trump building. It was in Soho, New York, with a bunch of Russian thugs. I'm just going to sum up a couple things quickly. There's the Trump hotel in Panama. That was in the news months ago, briefly, for having some criminal ties. Went away. You never hear about it again, do you? But you still hear about Hillary's fucking emails. So that is the so it basically doesn't matter what Trump does, but if because Hillary Clinton sent some emails from an unsecured server, who knows what, you know, None of us really know all the details of that, but it doesn't. I'm not sure what happened as a result, but but Trump is basically more or less a gangster with a brand and with a celebrity, with some celebrity, an IMDb page. He's been in some movies and stuff like that. He's ingrained himself enough in pop culture the last 30 so years that, or plus years, more than that, and to become kind of normalized for being what he is, which is a dick, and then through the process of his campaigning somehow became normalized into being seen as president. While the rest of them see him as a president in parody, they see him as a legitimate commander-in-chief. They like that. They like the rich trust fund baby draft dodging, kind of strangely ironic because the people that vote for him value military service and hard work and all of that. And two things that Trump definitely does not embody is military service and hard work. It's being a coward and blaming others for your fuck-ups. That's basically what Donald Trump does. And that's all I'm going to say on this topic. This has been another edition of The Spectre. If you have any thoughts about current events or what's going on right now, leave them in this, leave them below. Be respectful or disrespectful. It's your right to free speech. Take care.